Hey, I'm Christian Medice, and I'm hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
I first heard about you with Mitchie. I was with Lovely the Band right around the time that Broken kind of came out, and he was just like, "Yeah, my friend, longtime collaborator from Oh Honey, like jumped in on this, and he's the one that kind of, in a way, kind of helped create Lovely the Band." What was that experience like with you transitioning from Oh Honey to Lovely the Band, and what made it so different this time around?
Um, you know, the Oh Honey was like, I guess stylistic wise, was more of like a folk pop thing. It was a guy girl
Right.
duo, and again, me and Mitch have been working together for 10 years now, so it wasn't like it was anything unusual. Me and Mitch have a chemistry. We know how each other works, so it wasn't like a huge departure as far as like the songwriting, but it was just as far as like the style of
Yeah.
music. Like, yo, let's just do something that we feel like is us or is Mitch, and like say what you want to say, and that's what we did, and it worked out great. But it was the music is definitely far more in the lane of what we wanted to do
Hmm.
than what previous projects had been. So.
Right. Now, as you guys were creating Broken, Mitchie had also said like there was so many different scratch recordings that you guys had. Like there was so many different versions of the song before it actually was what it became. What was it about this song that you guys believed in it so much that you guys went over and over and reformatted and recreated it so many times?
I have a voice note of it still on my phone. It's funny. It's like 15 minutes long, and it's crazy to go back to when we wrote that. I think it was like 3 years now at this point. But um, to be honest, when the song, we had like a verse and a chorus, like not even a complete chorus, but
Right.
we had played it for some people, and there was like a really like great reaction, like just to our friends, like to my fiance,
Yeah.
like. And whenever I play things, like my fiance specifically, she'll be like, "This is good. I really like this." But she's like, "Wow, I love
This
this."
was the song.
And this was like, a lot of people had similar reactions. And the thing was, the song wasn't even done yet.
Mhm.
Like there wasn't even a complete chorus. So like, it's like, all right, maybe we finish it. And I wasn't like, "Yo, this song's a hit," or "This song's gonna be a monster."
Right.
Never thought that. Never thought that. Until to this day, I'm like, I'm just shocked at how well it has done. So.
Yeah. I think it's still one of I think to this day it's still one of the longest running like
Yes.
hits right now.
Longest running alternative songs on the alternative songs charts. I think it's like 67 weeks now and still
Yeah.
on there, which is
Insane.
incredible. Yeah,
It's insane.
yeah. So never saw that coming. We were like, there's been like a long running joke. Like when we first released it, we were like, this is great. I hope it like, I hope it even charts on the alternative charts. So seeing how far it has come has been really awesome.
Right.
So yeah.
Now, for you, as far as transitioning from a musician to a producer, you went from vocals and guitarist to, producing for other bands and artists. Like, what was that transition like for you? And what was it about being a producer that made you want to transition?
So actually, I originally started as a drummer. I went to college to be the world's greatest drummer, and that didn't pan out. And I was in a band where I played drums. It was like a pop rock thing, and me and the singer, we had just started dabbling in songwriting and production.
Right.
And that band kind of fell apart, and I started a new band where I transitioned to singing and guitars, and then I produced and wrote all those songs. And then from there, it was like, okay, well, maybe I should try producing other people's bands because I was really into it. And it got to a point where it's like I enjoyed more being behind the scenes and writing and producing with other people than I did
Right.
being in front of the stage. So that's ultimately where it ended up being, and I just started doing more of my friends' bands, and I met more people doing that, and it just snowballed, and eventually, my band just stopped being a band, and I
Right.
was just like producing other people. So
And as far as like working with so many different genres, because you didn't stick to the alternative world, you've done pop, you've done like the folk stuff with Oh Honey, you've done a lot of different genres of music that you produce. Like so, in every time that the genre changes, how do you kind of adjust to it? How do you make it work?
I think being it all like kind of stems back from my drumming days and my college years because I was exposed to so many different types of music, and
Right.
I also enjoy a bunch of different types of music too. So I think deeply rooted in the pop alternative world, growing up in bands and also listening to top 40 radio. That's like where I come from. So there was always going to be elements of that in whatever I do. So as long as like, you know, the songs are good, you know, I think everything else can kind of fall into place. But I think, you know, the songs have to be good in order for that to happen. So
now, as you've worked with so many different like artists, has there been that any one specific like session that you've had that kind of challenged you in a different way?
You know, I remember when I first moved to New York from Boston, and I was just like kind of hustling, doing a bunch of just like any production gig I could take to make money. There was one that was like it was a gospel gig.
Oh man!
And it was so random, and I don't even know how it came to be, but it was something that I had never done before. Like we had a gospel choir in the studio, and it was a studio like this size. I'm like, what? You know, that was really different, and yeah, but it came out great. And you know, I haven't done any other gospel sessions since, but yeah, that was it. That was testing the limits as far as you know, my boundaries and whatnot. So,
what do you feel has been your biggest evolution as a producer?
You know, it's always like a kind of an ongoing, ever-changing process and learning process for me. You know, I like, there's no one specific thing, but I can definitely see, like, you know, over the course of however long I've been doing this, you know, 5 to 10 years, it's just to like go back. Like, if I go back and listen to songs 2 years ago, I feel like my style was way different, or I was doing something that, you know, I would think now is like, well, that's terrible. Why would I do that then? Or then I go further back, 5 years, like this is really bad. And then 10 years, like, wow, like this Mitch stuff, like the early Mitch stuff that like I said, we've been working together for 10 years. Like some of the first stuff we've done, man, that is bad. And I don't know, like the whole evolution from that 10 years ago to now, I mean, it's pretty wild, the change that we've been, you know, we've made. So.
Right. But even music like that, like you feel like it was a bad recording or a bad creation, but it's like it was, you know, his old band was on a major label as well, so it was kind of like still getting that big exposure.
True, yeah. But even before that, we did stuff like we like there's so yeah, and I did other bands too, so I don't want to just pick on him, but like it was like, you know, it's just like a continuous learning process. Like I'm sure 10 years from now, like I'll look back at this and be like, wow, these songs are
right.
I mean, maybe not. I mean, but who knows? It's like I said, it's like an ever going learning process, and it's always evolving. Music is always evolving, so you got to stay up with the times. So, you know. Now
I saw that you initially had created a song for Young Rising Suns, another awesome band that's out there. But it ended up being worked for someone else, Halsey, who at the time was like, nobody knew who she was. So how do you go from creating a song that was, you know, made for a band to a song that is now being used for like a solo artist? How do you recreate that?
So that song, Empty Gold, was originally for Young Rising Suns, and they're more of like an alternative rock band. And when we did it, it was like, it didn't sound anything like them. And Halsey had just like started. I don't even think she had been signed yet, or maybe she had been signed. But we all got in together. It was like me, my buddy Dylan, Andy, and Ashley, and we finished it up. And like I said, it was like the production stayed the same. We just had to finish up like a verse. Like she had to put her words, her spin on it. Right. And I know she changed up a couple of things, but you know, besides that, it was pretty seamless. You know. It doesn't always happen that way, but you know.
I mean, how did that come about though? Like you were creating it with the guys, or
we were. It was me, Andy, and Dylan. We did it, and like, you know, we just were messing around one day, and we did the song, and her A&R had heard it, and my buddy Dylan. So she's from Jersey, and my buddy Dylan is from Jersey, and Dylan had been working with her a lot, and he brought the song to her, and you know. That's how that came to be. Like he had been working early on in the project, and he played it for her and her A&R, and they liked it. And they were like, "Yo, can we cut this song, or can we give it a shot?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, let's do it." So that's how that happened.
Now, do you do a lot of like songwriting as well with the artists that you go into the studio with, or is that someone else that handles that?
Yeah. I definitely do the songwriting. It's definitely nicer. You know, it'll be either me and a couple other songwriters just writing to even pitch to an artist, or you know, it's better if the artist is in the room, I think.
Right.
But yeah, I'll definitely be involved in the writing as well. Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the writing, is it something that is it usually like a quick kind of like idea comes up and you guys start writing it, or does it take some time sometimes?
It's different. It's definitely different every time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's painstaking, and it can be like hours and hours before like an idea comes to fruition.
Right.
Or it could be like a song in half an hour, 45 minutes, like boom, done. Which is like, I love those days. The other days you just like, you're sitting here and we're all just like, you know, nose deep in our laptops or phones trying to like come up with a lyric to inspire some other stuff. And, you know, that happens, you know, that's just part of the process. It's different every time.
Has there been an artist or a songwriter that kind of sticks out to you, like their songwriting is just like next level? You've never kind of experienced that before?
Uh, I mean, I'll take it back to Mitch. You know,
Yeah.
he's a great lyricist, probably one of the best lyricists ever, like I've ever worked with. You know, and he definitely complements the way I write as well too. So I haven't really written with anybody that actually complements the way that I work more than he does. Yeah, he's just like a brilliant lyricist.
There's something about him because it's like, you know, it's personal things to him that he writes about, but it makes us feel it as if it was our situation as well.
Yeah, that's part of the genius, and I think that's why Broken did so well. You know what I mean? That was so relatable lyric wise, and that's just how he writes, and I like those type of songs too. Yeah,
Right.
so yeah.
Now you're currently working with the Aces for new music, another band that I've been like super excited about recently. What have those sessions been like for you?
Oh my God! It's usually Crystal and Elisa, the singer Crystal and drummer Elisa, they're sisters, and it's me and those two. And they're awesome. They know what they want, you know, and it's very like, you know, if I like play something, they'll be very quick to tell me like, nah, let's move on. And I love that. That's awesome, you know, because not everyone's like that. It's like, why waste time doing something you're not into? And I mean, my feelings aren't hurt, but I respect that completely, because then things move quicker and we get the job done. So we've done a bunch of songs now, and we're doing more in the near future. So yeah, they're awesome.
Right. I feel like they're one of those artists that, you know, either they're going to blow up for 2019 or for the following year, but I feel like so many people have been sleeping on them. And you know, they're on Red Bull Records right now as well, but it's like I don't know what's going on with the world that they're not paying attention.
Dude, they're slowly growing. You know, they just came off their headlining tour. They actually still might be on it, but the shows are selling out.
Yeah.
Like the whole tour might have sold out. I'm not sure, but they're slowly building it, and like their fan base is growing, and I think they're doing it the right way. You know, so that they're not relying on like a hit song. They have the core fan base. So yeah, they're growing. They're doing their thing.
How do you feel about their songwriting?
Oh, they're awesome, and they're still super young too. I think
Yeah.
I don't even know if they're even in. Yeah, I don't even know if they're 21 yet. They're super young. So I mean, and being that good at that age, it's like you're only gonna get that much better. So
Right. So, you know, I feel like 2018 kind of put your name out a lot more. You're starting to be, you know, that producer that everybody wants to work with. And I feel like there's so much competition with producers nowadays. But you know, now that you have more major artists, more hit songs that are in front of you, like, is there any specific artist that you would love to like produce some of their tracks for?
man, there's one band my favorite band of all time, and that's the Killers. That's like reaching for the stars. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I
You
get
never
it,
know, man.
but I love the Killers, and
never know.
that's always been my my dream to do one song. Brandon Flowers is amazing.
Yeah.
I love his voice, but yeah, I've loved them for forever. So that's always like my go-to.
Would you want to do the Killers or Brandon Flowers or both? Either doesn't matter.
I'd take either.
Okay.
I'd have to say the Killers because,
Yeah.
but like if I were to like Brandon Flowers is cool too.
Yeah.
But like the whole band as the Killers would be amazing.
That would be sick.
Yeah.
That would be sick. You never know. I mean, there's movement with the band going on right now, so I'm like super excited to see what they have cooking. What's next for you? I know you're working with Lovely for another record. How different do you feel like the energy is this time around on this new material?
So we literally just started diving into it, and we have like a handful of ideas, and it's a kind of a weird spot right now because it's like, well, what do we want to say? What do we want to sound like? How's this going to evolve? And we haven't really, I don't know if we've really gotten to that point where we're like, oh, okay, this is it, because it's still early on, and they're still touring like nonstop, as they should.
Right.
So it's I think as we start to like really dive in, we'll have a better idea, and it's really like an experimental phase right now. We're just messing around with as many different ideas as possible to see what happens. But yeah, I'm excited to see what comes out either way.
Yeah. So to close us off, why did you want to be part of the music industry? What is it about music that really got your attention and made you want to, focus on this fully? I mean, even like quit your job and just, commit to MySpace, try to send, messages to bands. Like, what was it about it?
A big part of it, I mean, music's always been a big part of my life. And like I said, I went to college to be a drummer. I wanted to be a drummer, like a studio drummer. I just loved the idea of, the studio and, moving from session to session, being on playing drums on people's tracks. And that doesn't happen anymore. First of all, studio drummers aren't a thing. There's like maybe a handful of them.
Unfortunate.
Yeah. So I think the allure of a studio was probably something that I really, was drawn to. And, I just couldn't hack having a real job. I couldn't do it. And I was at like a busboy at some restaurant in New York, and there was this one day I was like, I couldn't take it, and that's when I quit. I was like, yo, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. And that I didn't have any plan, but that's the day I decided, yo, I got to do this music thing. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I was like, okay, this is what I'll do. I'll MySpace message people, and that's how that happened. And I like literally MySpace messaged like 100 bands, and I was like, yo, I'll do the first song for free, and every song after that for like $100. And as long as I was making my living, I don't even care if I was like rich. As long as I was making it, I just wanted to do it.
Right.
And that's all I cared about, and that's all I care about. So, but yeah, as long as I was making music, man, I didn't care. So.